Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. Right, as promised, this is the start of my catch up to try and get a few of these movies done. Um, right, I meant to do this earlier, but I had an absolute bucket load of editing and recording to do, so that's all out of the way. Now I can crack on and get some of these. I might get one more done tonight, but I'm gonna have to sleep. I'll try and get the rest done tomorrow anyway. But here we go. Possession, 1981. So a woman starts exhibiting increasingly disturbing behavior after asking her husband for a divorce. Suspicions of infidelity soon give way to something much more sinister. Right. This movie is 2 hours long. I have literally just finished it within the last 15 minutes, and I don't know what I've watched. How can I describe it? It's like the writing team and the actors all went in their room, took a load of acid, and went, let's make a performative dance, tentacle porn, French, German erotica possession movie, channeling Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Clockwork Orange and what did you oh god, what was that? Two Nights in Paris or something? That weird and all sorts of weird shit. This is a strange movie. So our main yeah, and there's boobies in the movie too. But it's this is weird. Honestly, this is like when they cut all the porn all the actual porn bits out of a porn movie and put the acting in, but the actors are trying. That's this entire movie. So we've got Mark, and he is the protagonist of this. Sorry. This is set in Germany, so Cold War Germany. So it's right at the Berlin Wall, the sort of area where this takes place. So he is an informant handler, someone who basically turns agents and gets information, keeps in touch with them, and all that kind of stuff. So, from that premise, you would expect he'd be mentally and physically robust, a capable person, and not, people that are in that field have like high divorce rates and all that kind of stuff. So, there's a bit of acceptance, if that makes sense, if their marriage is about to break down, kind of stuff, right? So, you would kind of have that in the back of your head. To start off with him arriving back at his home. Now he's in a Soviet tenement block. This is where he lives with his wife and their young son. Sorry, I'm taking a bit of time here because I'm still trying to process in my head what the hell this movie is because it is odd. So none of that fits in. It would fit better if he was a traveling salesman. So if he was going around the country selling toothbrushes, it would make more sense for his character to be that than what they're portraying him to be. And once no, obviously anyone's familiar with Sam Neill, brilliant actor. He's playing the role he's been given, and what a role that is. Like this guy's not even in charge of his own arms and legs throughout this entire movie. Like even when he gets out of the car, he looks like a traveling salesman. He's carrying his bags awkward. He doesn't have that confidence or swagger of someone who would be working essentially in the Secret Service, and it's very vague as to what agency, which kind of fits in with the time anyway. I mean, this is 1981, middle of the Cold War, so you could be a secret agent and work for any government in the West because that was the way things went. But he can barely handle his bags. He can barely operate his arms and legs, and he's sort of straight away over emotional of, oh, why are you leaving me? Oh, and this is not a movie with a through plot line. This is like segments of interpretive dance sequences. I think that's the best way to describe it. This is like, okay, we've got this scene and we're in the flat of the house now. So channel your inner butterfly, and she's about to leave you and she's been seeing someone else, and she's going to be over emotional about it and he's going to be over emotional about it, and just let it flow, darlings, and then they'll do the scene. Because that's what this is like. And then the scene, the seer, he's looking after her son. Meanwhile, since he just had a bloody fight, and the place goes from super tidy to like crap land all over the place. And it's hard to work out the time in this, what time's gone past. So needless to say, she's asked him for a divorce. He said no. They've come into the house anyway. They've had a fight and then they're acting normal. God, what's the wee lad's name? Doesn't matter. He's only a wee boy anyway, so he's just the boy. The boy is in the middle of all this. Now, if this was anyway normal reality, social service would be called, because these two are bonkers. Like, they're out of their tree. Like, there's no other way to describe it. They're both like unhinged personalities, which for his character he's supposed to be playing doesn't make sense. For her, maybe, but then again, it's, yeah, go figure. He then leaves the house and he goes to the Red Desk apartment. And next thing you know, he's covered in mud, half naked, dancing around the place. There's crap all over the floor. And he asks, somebody walks past and goes, "How long have I been here?" 3 weeks. So it's almost as if he went on a drug-fueled bender. You see bottles and stuff lying about the place. Because she said she's leaving him, but they've got a son and he doesn't hold himself together. And then she's gone off on like drug-fueled benders, and he's coming back to the house, and the wee lad's left there in the middle of crap everywhere. And he's essentially raided the cupboard. Like, he's only a tot. He's really only meant to be like 3 or 4 years old, barely more than 5. And this is all taken as if it's just a normal course of a day. Like, this movie's messed up. Yeah, I would imagine that the writers' room party had some of those Amazonian tree frogs as well, and there's a bit of licking going on, because I think they've tried a wrong combination of stuff to make this movie, and I think there might have been tree frogs involved with the performances, because this is just the whole setup, and you're just meant to brush all this off as if it's normal. Meanwhile, he's decided he's going to quit his job in the Secret Service. So he's like in front of this panel giving reports and stuff, and they're like, "Oh no, you can't leave. We haven't got a successor for you, blah, 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 blah." And then the rest of the movie happens. This is just, she goes to live with Heinrich. No, she doesn't. She says she's going to go live with Heinrich. Mark goes to meet Heinrich and confront him. Heinrich's living in a house with his mother, and he brought Anna around, while his mother was there and stuff. And then they have this weird fight in the corridor. And I mean, like, we've got action scenes were possible, like in the 80s. But this is like proper doing weird. This is not like the early Hammer horror stuff we're covering at the moment, like Peter Cushing trying to fight, and they're doing the and all that kind of stuff. This is like a spaced out 70s flick. I know it's 81, but it's it's a spaced out 70s flick. I think that's the only way to describe this. Where everyone, even during filmings, like got bags of what was it, Cambodian marching powder, Colombian marching powder, right? I mean, they're doing all that kind of stuff because it's the only way the direction of this scene each of these scenes happen. And for a minute, you think Mark and Henrik are going like just shag each other. And this sort of carries on with various characters. And I'm just waiting them all to end up in a big shag pile, just all jump onto a bed together and just have at it. Because that's the way this movie's sort of hinting at, that they're all into each other. There's no neighbors, by the way. Like, there's only neighbors appear. This set of streets is completely deserted, apart from the main characters. It's very odd. I think that might be deliberate. Like, I don't think it's an accident they did it. I think it's deliberate, as if this whole place is abandoned and these people are all playing out apart. That's what I'm saying, the sort of invasion of the body snatcher sort of thing, because it's unnatural the way it's set. And there's fights. Mark and Anna have a proper fight where they're punching each other in the face and smashing everything, and they're in an apartment complex, and not a neighbor goes, oi, because there are no neighbors apart from the babysitter who turns up, who lives across in the other block. You don't see another person. But yeah, Mark's getting all overly emotional, but first of all, he's shagging the babysitter, because that's well implied, even though you don't actually see proper sex scenes between them, but still, it's implied that they're shagging each other. So if she has her thing and he's away a lot, and then he's back and he's diddling into the babysitter as well, what's everyone getting upset about? It's strange, like, this is what I'm saying about this. Is each scene is like a performative dance piece, as opposed to an actual scene with scripts and words and story and plot, because like the emotions of the characters change from scene to scene. So they go from like really upset, hyper emotional, to super joyous the next, and just nonchalant the next. It's nothing goes in any sort of sequence. God, I'm confused. Has anyone seen this movie? Like, I shared it, or mentioned it in the news article. Something might have mentioned if they've seen it or not. The reason I decided to watch this movie anyway is because they're looking about doing a remake of it. Robert Pattinson's involved. I don't think a remake of this would be any worse. It might actually make some sense, because this movie is spaceballs out to the max. So we'll have this sort of weird fuck fight between Mark and Henrik, and then they keep ringing each other. Like, they're ringing each other like on a daily basis, because Anna's going to somewhere else and they're both jealous that she's going off to somewhere else. And then we get Mark decides to hire a private detective agency. Now, this guy's supposed to be an agent. He's supposed to be an informant handler. And he turns up to this agency of, yeah, I want you to follow my wife. Here's a photograph of her. And the guy asks him, do you have any more information? And you're like, what the hell? You're just scratching your head going, this makes no sense. Then we meet the detective who's following Anna, and he is the most, and it's like Inspector Clouseau trying to tail someone. And I mean, it's absolutely comical. Then Anna sits down beside, like, they get on a train, there's no one else, there's a homeless person with a bottle of vodka just in the middle of the day, and she sits right down beside him, and he reaches in their bag, takes a banana, starts eating it, and she's all nonplussed. And the Spectre Clouseau tailing guy's like, don't see me. Like, they're in the friggin' same garage. There's not even a hint of professionalism in this. And there's loads of spy movies in the 80s. If they're trying to make this a spy movie, but add in a demonic element, they failed. Like, they could have got a director, this guy, Andrzej, I don't even try his surname, Zulawski or something, Andrzej Zulawski. Like, these are people living in the Cold War era, and they're filming Western Europe, and this is the time of the Iron Curtain, and this is the breeding ground of all the spy movies. Like, you look up spy movies in the 80s and around this era, and absolutely bucket loads. So they could have made a decent spy movie and then threw in a bit less, but it's not. It's a Spaceballs tripping. What do you call that one with Sylvester Stallone? Italian Stallion. You know that weird porn movie he did, and they threw in extra scenes just for absolutely no reason. That's this movie, but it's weirder. That movie has more structure, makes sense. This doesn't. But needless to say, we go to the house where Anna's staying. So these people are tripping with money, basically, because they can rent the houses left, right, and centre. In the 80s in Western Europe on the Berlin Wall, nobody was really flush with cash those days. So it's all like a super hyper fantasy, if that makes sense. Like I said, with the deserted streets and everything, it's odd. But the detective goes and finds her, and then we meet the entity, which turns out isn't so much a demonic possession, but has shape and form and tentacles and gore. And do you know what I'm thinking of? You know the scene with Frank in Hellraiser? You know, it's basically Frank. They've nicked that, although Hellraiser hadn't come out yet. But this is what, Frank would have been if he had tentacles in a room, and Anna's essentially playing Julie. But they say that doesn't matter because detective guy gets killed. He goes in and he pretends he's a house inspector. He needs to go and check the windows because one of the windows fell on top of something. And like I'm saying, Inspector Clouseau, if Inspector Clouseau decided to be a private investigator, this is it. So he goes in and then he gets he gets stabbed with a bottle. She stabs him. Then he gets eaten, I think. Something like that anyway. And then we get the other owner of the detective agency comes to speak to Mark about the detective, and then Mark essentially tries to shag him, and then he says no because he's basically married to the detective. So I honestly think this was originally written as a porn movie. Like, I honestly genuinely think this was meant to be a porn movie, but the porn people didn't want it because it was too weird, so he made it into a movie instead. Like, seriously, it's every scene's leading up to somebody shagging somebody or multiple people, but they just don't do it. So it's like, okay, right, we'll try and make it a horror movie. Right, and then we'll have the teacher. So little, I think it's Bob. We'll call him Bob. I think Bob, but he's like in the bath, and the teacher calls to the house because that's what happens in the world. And then Mark's like, "Would you just mind drying him off?" And while he answers the phone or something, and then he asks the teacher to babysit him while he's going to see something. This happens about 3 or 4 times. If I was that age of little Bob and my teacher came in while I was having a bath, I'd be mortified. But needless to say, Mark shags the teacher as well. So I don't know what, like, I mean? He's not worried, and he's about to shag Henrik. So I don't think he's upset about his wife fooling around. I think he's upset that he's not been asked to join in. The party, is that what it was called? Yeah, maybe. I had flipping. I think it was in the 70s, wasn't it? I think it's got a stoner following. I think this is a stoner movie, to be honest, rather than an actual cult following. This is definitely, you need to be baked to watch this, I think, because watching it sober hurts your brain. So we find out Anna's quit her job about a year before, so this isn't like a new thing. She's been busy hanging about the house and shagging Henrik and stuff, and Mark goes away a lot on missions, even though his character is basically can't handle himself. He couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag, and we've had a demonstration of this, and he's emotionally incompetent. So that doesn't strike me as the person that gets put in behind enemy lines to basically handle informants and convince them to turn over to the other side and defect and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't make sense. So this carries on, and stuff happens. That's the best way I can describe it. Stuff happens. This is a 2-hour bloody movie, and there's only about 3 actual plot points in the entire movie. And it's Mark coming home, Mark meeting Henrik, Mark finding out where Anna's moved to, and it's weird back and forward. And yeah, Mark and Henrik have essentially become strange best buddies. And Henrik's ringing up going, I don't know where your wife is. Can you tell me where your wife is? You explain it to me. What would happen? I mean, if you're insanely jealous and you're about to lose your wife to somebody, and then she disappears somewhere else, and the person who's cheating on your wife on you rings you up and go, I don't know where your wife is. Could you help me out? And then you go, okay, I will. And at the same time, you're having to offer the babysitter and the kid's teacher, and the kid is present during all this shit because the kid's just busy walking in while there's this scene where Anna and him have it off with each other on the kitchen floor after they've wrecked everything, and then wee Bob just walks in and they've just finished and everything's just okay. This movie actually is borderline child abuse, unless there's some really, really, really clever editing. Because that wee kid actor, he's been put in the middle of stuff he shouldn't be put in the middle of. It's friggin' weird. And unless they've like really just cut the camera at certain points that you don't see, he doesn't see stuff, and he's like taken into a soundproof booth while they act out the next scene. They've really got tight with the editing. This is freaking a disturbing movie in that respect. But the wee lads should be in social services anyway in the movie, because God, this is can't describe it. But sure enough, Mark goes to the apartment and he discovers that Anna is essentially a serial killer. There's body parts and bags and in the fridge and stuff, and it's all like, it's a good thing there's no neighbors, basically, because that's what got Jeffrey Dahmer caught, was people smelt the like rotten meat and stuff in the apartment block. It's a good thing this whole place is entirely deserted. The Secret Service people randomly appear and try to get Mark to rejoin and go and handle the informant again. And then a weird shootout happens. Oh, right, I'm jumping ahead. Because before that, Mark rings Henrik and tells him where his wife is. Oh, my wife's living here. You might want to go and see her. And then Henrik goes and he gets stabbed a few. Like, he just she's flicking at him with a knife, actually stabbing him, like almost, and he's just like going, huh? And then she finally stabs him properly, and he's like, and then he goes to a bar just casually because there's no hospitals here. And yeah, okay. Then he doesn't ring the police, and he doesn't ring an ambulance, and he doesn't ring his mother. He rings Mark to go, I went to see your wife where you told me where she was, and she just stabbed me. I'm in this bar. Can you come and help me?" And Mark goes, "Okay." And then they meet in the toilets of the bar, and Mark takes care of him. And I mean, by that, he kills him. But he could have easily taken care of him the other way as well, because that's the way this movie could have went. Then we'll have the weird shootout, because we needed that. And but also a weird scene after this, because he goes back to the apartment after killing Heinrich, and then he goes back to the apartment and he sees that everything's been cleaned up apart from all the bags of body parts. So everything's been wiped, and the blood in the bed and stuff and all that's all been cleaned, brand new sheets. But all the body parts are still in the bags, just lined up in the hall, and the ones in the fridge. Now, why she kept certain body parts in the fridge and the rest is all in bags makes no sense. But Mark decides to blow up the apartment, because you do. Then he gets into the shootout because they try to recruit him, and then he does something. He takes over a taxi and then smashes, and they chase him. Meanwhile, he stuck the body because the babysitter gets killed, because Anna gets jealous that he shagged the babysitter, even though she's shagging someone else and about to leave him, and stuff. Then the shootout happens, and then they're in a corridor, and all the police or these agents come and fill them both full of lead, Mark and Anna. And then we find out that the tentacle demon is replicating himself into another version of Mark. So that's where I'm saying the invasion of the body snatchers. And then we get the idea that the agents are not actually agents, but cultists to this demon. And that happens. So obviously, this whole neighborhood has been taken over by these agents, purely so Tentacle Demon can come into the world. Or is he one of many tentacle demons? And are they all tentacle demons? Or is he the chosen tentacle demon? And there's a weird scene as well. Anne has a flashback where she's a ballet teacher. And she's got this kid in a pose. And I'm telling you, it's a sex scene. It's porn. You know, all that kind of stuff with a wee kid. And it's fucking messed up. This is now, I think it might have been overdubbed, because there's no way they got the wee girl to willingly make those noises. So this has to have been dubbed over the top with another actor, because no. And if they did, that's wrong. And the fucking director needs locked up, because he's already borderline child abuse with his fucking movie as it is. And if that scenes like was genuinely acted out with the wee girl knowing what she was doing, fuck this guy. That's all I'm saying. So there you go. That's the way it went. And this is probably the most babbling, incoherent review I've ever given my life, because it's the most babbling, incoherent movie I've ever watched in my life. And check my catalog, I've watched some doozers in my time, but this is just out there. If anyone's confused by likes of Clockwork Orange and don't know where it's going, or Jacob's Ladder, or stuff like that, that's playbook stuff, children's paint by numbers compared to this movie. This movie is off its tree. I think that's the politest way I can describe it. It's just there's had to be drugs involved. That's the only way to describe the actual filmmaking process. Now, I did see a thing online, a director's commentary. I don't know whether I want to watch it. I don't think I want to get in this guy's head, because he's not right. Like, seriously, he's not there. But this movie is, yeah, it's a thing. It's an experience. I don't think I'd ever watch it again, to be honest. I don't think I would ever find myself feeling the need to revisit this movie to go, what's it about? And even having it explained, I don't think I want to, because a movie should explain itself. And I don't mind a bit of unbending reality. So what it could be is, are they both possessed? Is it Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where Mark's character's being tainted by Tentacle Demon? And that's why he's losing his shit every so often, because he's, his life force is being sucked out of him into the other one. It could be that. But to be honest, the movie doesn't do a good job of explaining it. So there you go. That's that. Now, what am I thinking for this remake? I think the remake will be more exposition based. Like, they'll not make it exactly this way again. There'll definitely be gay sex in the remake, without a doubt. Because here it was hinted at, but it's 2024, 2025, so it has to be all explained in your face. You can't have any subtlety, so there'll definitely be that. Would Robert Pattinson make a good Mark in this? I don't know if he's going the same way as this, because Sam Neill's really just let himself, he just embraced the role and he went mental, like he did. And the girl, Isabella Adjani, that plays Anna, she's the same. Like, these two are doing performative dance pieces. That's what they're doing for this movie. They're not so much acting, but they're ad-lib dancing through this. It's the best way to describe their scenes. It's very physical. It's Jim Carrey physical, but it's taking itself seriously in an arty way. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe their performances. There is dialogue in this movie, but it's not meant to be dialogue. This would almost be better, I think, if it was a silent movie and had a narrator and the people did the parts. And I could definitely do them with being 45 minutes shorter. Like, there's no reason for this movie to be 2 hours. You got nothing out of 2 hours of this movie. It really didn't add anything to it. In fact, it took away from any tension, because once you've seen Mark throw wobbly fits and go on drug/alcohol fueled benders 3 or 4 times in this movie, you get it. Once you've seen Anna do the same thing, and once you see that everyone's rubbing their bits up against everybody in the cast, as in the characters, you get it. So all we basically need to do is just rush the Tentacle Demon and realize this Tentacle Demon's pulling on the strings, but you get no real. It's not really a payoff. It's more of a, thank goodness that's over. Thank goodness, okay, right, we can just put it down to Tentacle Demon and file it in your little part of your brain, shove it in the back there, and just leave it. There you go. There's that. That's our review. Now I'm interested to see what they make of the remake, how they're going to go about it. This is one that I wouldn't be upset by a remake, because this is not. The movie gets in its own way and trips itself up, and there's too many illicit drugs involved in the making of it. So maybe next time, if they have a few less drugs, maybe a plot. There could be a plot in here. Actually, put a plot in this time. The remake could turn out to be better. So there you go. There's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think if you've seen this. And until next time, keep up the other channel, do the type of tricky things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.